Yo, what's going on everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about Boruto episode 16 titled Crisis, the Threat of Failing. And so this episode was very fillery. It clearly exists just for the sake of padding, so they have more time to animate and work on the canon stuff. The Naruto Gaiden chapters where Sarada's, she's like, is Karin my mom? Is Sakura my mom? I don't know. And then I guess all of the Momoshiki stuff that's going to come after that, and whatever it is that they plan on doing with Toneri, I'm not sure. But anyway, yeah, like I said, this episode was it doesn't progress the plot at all. It's just here to give the animators and the staff more time to work on all of the big stuff that they have planned. It was a character-focused episode centered around Iwabe and Denki, and as the title of the episode implies, the struggle that they've got going on in this episode, the thing that they have to face is the threat of failing the academy. And not like being kicked out or whatever, it's just that neither of them want to have to repeat a year of schooling at the academy, because like Iwabe sucks at written tests and Denki sucks at performing ninjutsu, but eventually the two end up helping each other out, and it's this mutually beneficial relationship that they have. They become like really tight and close friends, and it's pretty cool. Despite the fact that this was a very fillery episode and I didn't really think I was gonna get all that into it, it was actually pretty good. One of the best episodes of the series so far. It still suffers from that happy-go-lucky, consequence-free feeling that the rest of the series has. It lacks the sense of urgency and danger present in part 1, but I guess with a slice of life episode like this one, you can't really expect any of the sort of really hardcore gritty stuff that we got back in part 1 and early Shippuden. So, whatever, I'm not really upset about that here. Everything about the episode was fine. I'm just gonna state like all of the big things that really made me happy so that I don't forget them, though I'll probably mention some things that I forgot later on in the video. So first of all, Rock Lee made an appearance, and that was really cool. Metal Lee was trying to tutor Denki. He was trying to teach him about, well, I mean, like, it wasn't really he was trying to teach him anything. He was just trying to help Denki get into the habit of working out the same way that Rock Lee did, that Mike Guy did, and that Metal Lee is doing now. And so, Denki was doing the whole climb up a mountain thing. He wasn't using his, so the test that he was trying to take part in earlier, he had to use his chakra to walk up the side of a log, I guess. He had to climb up a wall by walking on it, the same way Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura had to, except they weren't tested to do this in the academy. They were taught to after they became genin. Anyway, so that's what Denki's been trying to do, and Metal Lee's just like, well, maybe the first step towards that is climbing up this rock wall, right? And then Denki falls down, and out of nowhere, Rock Lee shows up, and I was like, whoa, that's awesome. I missed you, man. Where have you been? And Lee's mannerisms have pretty much just become Guy's mannerisms, or what they were back in the main series, which, I mean, I guess that did kind of bug me. I was just like, oh, so I guess Metal Lee is Rock Lee now, and Lee is Guy now. That also makes me wonder, like, so was Lee Guy's kid? Because that's really what they seem to be hinting at here. I mean, I guess they were both just two different people, born without the ability to use ninjutsu or genjutsu, but Lee has the same eyebrows and stuff. Mike Guy's dad couldn't use ninjutsu, but I guess I shouldn't be discussing that in this episode review. It's just weird. So yeah, that was cool. I just thought it was a bit silly that Lee isn't Lee anymore. He's a lot more like Guy. It probably makes sense considering the fact that Lee isn't as much of a student anymore as he is a teacher. I wonder if he's mastered the 7th and 8th gates, by the way. Probably the 7th. I don't really know how you test whether you've mastered the 8th gate, but again, that's a discussion for another time. Another thing that I thought was really cool was, so there's this scene later on in the episode, and it's very comic book-esque. It made me think of Spider-Man in particular, where there's this like building and it's on fire, and Denki and Iwabe have to go in and save everybody. So Denki and Iwabe, well, they're going, like, they've been studying for like a really long time. They've been working really hard. Denki's been trying to brush up on his ninjutsu, and Iwabe has been trying to brush up on, his ability to do like written work, like math, I guess electricity or whatever. And they're heading on their way to take the final test, right? And then they come across this building that's on fire, and they're like, man, if we save these people, we're gonna be late. And then this one lady's like, help, please, my kids are still in there. And Iwabe's just like, and so they gotta go in there. And, they mentioned firefighters are gonna be on their way soon. And I was like, oh, Huh? How was you guys have firefighters in this world? That's actually kind of cool. What do they use hoses or what? And then I don't even know why I didn't think of this, but then when the firefighters show up, you know, they're just using water style jutsu. It sort of looks like the Hozuki clan's like water gun jutsu, at least the way they form their hands. But instead of like shooting out like a little gun, they just fire out this like continuous stream. And I was just like, oh, that's really cool. So firefighters are water style users that aren't quite ninja. They're just kind of like pew pew. All right. But speaking of this scene in particular, I think Iwabe was like, I've always really liked the guy, but he was incredibly likable in this episode. It's made very apparent that he has this heart of gold, and I mean, he's just so cool. Like, despite the fact that Denki kind of embarrasses him in front of everybody by mentioning the fact that he got held back a year at the beginning of the episode when he talks about how he doesn't want to have to repeat a year at the academy, Iwabe still actually ends up going out and helping him try and he still approaches Denki and he does his best to help him learn how to walk up the side of the tree. And he doesn't do this for anything in return. As a matter of fact, Denki's just like, oh, so how are you with your schoolwork? And Iwabe's just like, oh, you know, I'm doing fine, because he doesn't want to have to distract Denki from his ninjutsu training just so that he can get a bit of help. You know, he actually lies to him, and now this is a little bit too convenient. It bugged me a little bit because it was like, oh, okay, this is like super tropey and cliche. But one of Iwabe's assignments, like a folded up paper that he had in his pocket, like flies out and Denki catches it. It's just like blowing in the wind, and then he sees the answers that Iwabe had down there. I guess they were all like really wrong, incredibly off and inaccurate, because Denki's just like, oh, what, dude, this is pretty bad. And Iwabe's just like, well, I guess it really do be like that sometimes, huh? And Denki's just like, what are you talking about, man? I could help you. Why would you lie? And that's when Iwabe says, like, well, I just didn't want you to have to divert your attention from your ninjutsu studies just to help me with this. And I was like, man, I love this guy. He's so cool. You know, as for all of the other characters, they kind of acted like I expected them to. They weren't really in the episode all that much. It was primarily Denki and Iwabe just trying not to fail and have to repeat a year the whole time. Inojin had this, okay, so in order for me to explain what Inojin did, I have to kind of go, like, I have to back up a bit. So there's this one scene where Iwabe and Denki are both working together. I guess both of them come to an agreement that Iwabe studies and learns better when he's like focusing his chakra somewhere, because like when he's standing upside down on the ceiling or like standing horizontally on the wall or whatever, he has an easier time reading his textbooks and learning the concepts contained within them or whatever. So, you know, like he's standing on the wall trying to do schoolwork while Denki does his best to run up the side of the building using his chakra. And so Boruto comes by after a couple of his friends come by, and he's just like, oh, hey, is everybody working hard? Well, guess what? I got you guys a gift to show that I'm supporting you. I just want everybody to have a good lunch and get right back to it, or something along those lines. So like he got them burgers, right? He got everybody burgers, including Shikadai, Inojin, and a couple other people who weren't even training. And so like they all take a bite of their burgers at the same time. It looks really weird because they're all animated moving and taking a bite in sync with one another, and then they all scream because the burger's super spicy. And I mean, I don't really know how spicy, I don't know like how bad it was, but regardless, Boruto just like, oh, well, you know, I got their habanero burger before and they were saying this one was even better than that, so I thought I would try it. And then he takes a bite of it and he discovers that, yeah, it's incredibly spicy and not very good. And so the next day, while Iwabe and Denki are trying to help these kids out of this burning building, and they can't make it to the test on time because of that, Boruto's really worried. He's like, where are they? You know, I really want them to pass. They're my friends. And Inojin, just out of nowhere, he's just like, maybe they got sick because of the burgers you gave them. And I was just like, bruh, he's such an asshole. Oh my god. That's such a dick thing to say. You know, like, yeah, maybe it was the gift you gave him, Boruto, but I thought it was hilarious. Like, he says it super straight-faced. I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but I thought it was hilarious. I love Inojin. Shino was cool as always. He ends up passing both of them because they explain the situation to him. And I do think it's kind of weird that he doesn't ask them for confirmation. I guess Shino's just a nice guy, so he trusts them. Denki certainly doesn't have a habit of lying. He looks like a good kid. And I guess, you know, same with Iwabe. Iwabe. Like I mentioned earlier in the review, it's made very clear in this episode that Iwabe has a heart of gold, so I guess the two kids are trustworthy, but it still would have been easy to make something like this up. So I guess Shino should have gone and asked any possible witnesses if they saw the two of them helping these, these little kids out of this burning building. But, I mean, he doesn't do that. He's just like, well, congrats on doing that since you guys are pretty much already superheroes. I don't really, like, in the act of saving these people, you kind of demonstrated that you were capable of doing everything that we were going to test you on anyway. So, I mean, it's like, whatever, dude. Congratulations, you guys passed. I pretty much immediately knew that that's where the episode was headed. I was like, okay, so, he brought them in to speak privately with him. He's either A, gonna give them the test and then they're gonna pass it, or B, gonna be like, oh, I mean, well, you already did this, so because of that, you pass. And it was the second one. It was very predictable, but it was still pretty heartwarming. I felt good for both of the kids. I don't really know what else there is to say because it was really just about them trying to figure out how to pass this test, and they end up doing it. And I think the episode handled it really well. It's really good at these very down-to-earth slice of life episodes where not a whole lot happens. Well, I'm gonna say now, I feel like I've probably been a bit too kind to all of the episodes before. Like the ones I gave a 4 out of 5, I don't think they're that good. I think a 4 out of 5 indicates being like nearly perfect, and I feel like they're more like 3 or 3.5 worthy. And I think this episode is see, I don't know if a number system is good for rating these because they're all pretty close in terms of quality. Like none of them are really a whole star ahead of the others, but this episode in particular was really good. I think it's probably my favorite episode out of the bunch. If not, it's definitely up there. I guess to be fair, it doesn't really have a whole lot of competition. We're only 16 episodes in, and by the way, I can't believe it's already been 16 weeks since this show started airing. It's pretty much 4 months, and that's insane, but I mean, I guess time flies, man. But yeah, anyways, back to the actual subject. I'd say this episode probably gets a solid 3.5 out of 5. It was really good. It wasn't like outstanding or perfect or anything like that, but it was entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I thought the writing, directing, and animation and all that was good. I actually didn't really have any animation or art gripes this episode. Everything looked pretty spot on. They didn't drop the ball anywhere. But yeah, anyways, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and until my next video, I'll talk to you later. Swagkage out. Bye.